Hello, and welcome to into the LCS Challengers League. We are in playoffs. It is day 2, and we have 2 Oppenheimers and a Barbie on the broadcast today. I'm Magical, joined in by Desert and Cubby for more exciting round 1 action. Yesterday, both of you, we saw 2 teams make it through in 2 dominant 2-0s. What are your thoughts going in today? Let's start with you, Cubby.
I gotta say, this first matchup, FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses, this is the matchup that I had pinned for round 1. FlyQuest had the best second round robin record. EGC has really had a resurgence in the second round robin themselves, finding this unique playstyle, which, keep in mind, beat FlyQuest at the end of week 5 2-0. So even with Armeo in, I think EGC can still execute that playstyle fine, and really excited to see these 2 teams go head-to-head in this round.
Of course,
what about Yark?
Of course, speaking of bumps in performance towards the second half of the round robin, you should be excited about that AoE game as well, because I want to see just how far they've come, and if they can take this DSG match, stop with the ties. Let's find out who's actually going to be a winner.
Yeah, no more ties that we have to worry about because it is best of 3s for now. We will move into best of 5s later in the tournament when we get closer towards the end. But we have some exciting news for everybody. In fact, regarding Disguise, you were talking about AoE. Disguise is who they're playing up against. We were actually able to sit down and talk with Disguise Toast, the owner of Disguise himself. So let's go take a listen.
I'm here with Disguise Toast to chat about how the summer split has been on his first venture into League of Legends and owning a team. So first off, Disguise Toast, how's it going, man? You're in Taiwan right now, right?
Yeah, visiting family here, so the time zone's a little flip. I've had to wake up at 5 a.m. every day this past 2 weeks to watch my teams compete, but it is definitely worth it.
That's dedication. You've been spending a lot of time watching all of them. So for anybody who maybe is unaware for some reason, how many ventures have you tried going into like owning a team? Because we know League of Legends, right? That's what people here would know about. But what else you got?
We started with Valorant 6 months ago at the tail end of like 2022, and then we got into Valorant Game Changers, but that was still like the same game. So when the League of Legends NACL stuff was happening, I asked like my staff, like, hey, is it possible if we can just get one of these teams that are now teamless? And I think we made it in the span of like 1 week. Like it went from an idea to actually the team being real in the span of 1 week.
What have been some of the favorite moments you've had of the split so far? I obviously been streaming it, so we've gotten to see your live reactions. What have been some of your favorite moments?
Favorite moments is just there's quite a few of them, but it's just the consistency of how the team plays. Like Meech's play style is very aggressive. Is the one thing that always stands out to me when I watch these games. And early on, you can tell he was a little too aggressive. Like him and Zazel would just not be on the same page. I would watch this guy just walk into river and die, and I'm just wondering like what Zazel's thinking. But if you watch his performance over the last 2 weeks, he's been like the guy to carry the game over the finish line. Like his scoreline on Aphelios especially, I think we looked at the stats, it's like 85% win rate. So it's really cool to see like Meech Young develop as like these kind of not as known players as the other 3 Cloud9 champions.
So what are some of the other wins that you've experienced this split so far?
Other wins? I think it's just cool to see people in League talk about Team Disguise DSG. I've always wanted to be involved in League of Legends in some way. 8 years ago was me applying to be a game design intern for League of Legends. I passed the first 3 rounds, and then I got rejected on the 4th round.
The players have been trying to help you out as best as they can. I know you've been watching the streams and the interviews, and they have been shouting out the Patreon. Who, in your opinion, has done the best job of shouting out the Patreon on the team?
Oh, man. It's got to be a tie between Zazel and Fake God. Zazel gives a more professional, like clinical shout out. It's like, hey, this really supports the team. Check it out if you can. And Fake God gives a more from the heart, begging on his knees, please support this Patreon or else we're not going to be able to afford rent. I'm gonna give it to Fake God because he brings that human emotion to it.
Yeah, you can really feel the emotion coming out from him. Any other message you want to give to anybody out there watching, either your own fans or fans of the team, people maybe wondering what's next for Disguised?
What's next? Just keep trucking along, seeing how this season turns out. My grand master plan is for us to win challengers and use that to say to Riot, hey, look, these challengers players are pretty good. I think they deserve a chance to play on the big leagues. And I know there's rumors that some LCS team like TSM might be exiting. Look, that's a vacant slot.
Oh,
I was muted. I was muted on
there he
accident.
is.
Sorry about that. I was saying it was great to hear from Disguised, and it's always great hearing from owners, especially someone like Disguised, who you can tell is really involved with the community and really trying to build up this team. Like at the end, talking about wanting to get these players to LCS stage one day. So kind of looking over towards you, Eric, and like, what are your thoughts really when you kind of think about Disguised Toast himself?
First of all, I really appreciate his presence being in the space because that turmoil, those turbulent times we went through in between both spring and summer, he was a saving grace for the NACL to pick up a lot of players who were going to be lost otherwise. Secondly, thank goodness someone is here to feed Fake God and make sure that he's not going to go hungry and that he can pay his rent.
All right, yeah, I like that. The professionalism versus the emotional. Cubby, give us more of a professional advocation for Disguised.
It's been great. Like, he's co-streaming all the games. He's gotten more eyes on the league than, I mean, we can sometimes as a main broadcast, just reaching a different audience. So I think his incorporation, the fact that he picked up a team of players that did have talent to start off and also have grown throughout the split with what he's done, hiring the staff and Golden Glue around that. It's been good, as well as promote the league. It's been great to have him involved and really hope that if he's not getting that free LCS slot, then maybe we see him later on in Challengers as well.
Yeah, we'll see, but I kind of want to focus on Meech. You talked a little bit about Meech and how he worked with Zazel, but we've heard from a lot of the players certain ping issues coming in from Meech, and we put together a little presentation about that for everyone. So let's listen.
I meant to say Meech. Meech is Meech? Yeah, his ping is it's 130 ping. Okay, it's actually a joke that Zazel wanted to say, like make, where we keep incrementing the ping by like 10 or 20 each time, just to see when people would notice.
He's playing on 110 ping, really 1v9ing.
He's on high ping, really high ping.
I think Meech is good too, with his playing with from 140 ping,
170 ping, 300 ping,
350 ping. He got a pentakill with 350 ping.
410 ping.
I think it's 420, which is, I don't know how he reaches that point because I'm in Taiwan right now and I've been playing League and my ping's like 160. So he's somewhere even further than where I am. So I have no idea.
It's crazy.
It's actually insane, but he's still able to like go get pentakills, get aces. So I don't know how he does it.
I think my favorite point is that we skipped from 100, like 70. We skipped the 200s. We just skipped them all together.
What is going on? I thought the Patreon were supposed to pay for certain things. We got to pay for internet, brother. Get Meech the better ping.
We also missed the last interview that Zazel did week 6, where he said he was actually on 800 ping. So I guess Meech just continues to be an absolute.
You
beast.
wanted to say Masu there. I heard that.
Well, no, I mean, I was about to say, I was going to quote Zazel and say Masu wishes he was this guy. That which
okay. Good recovery. Good recovery.
Good recovery. Good recovery.
Thank you.
And speaking of recovery, let's recover this pre-show and get into a segment for the play of the week. We have a whole montage going on for the entire season, actually, to show everyone all the awesome play we've had from every single one of our 6 weeks going into this one. And start off, we go way back to the very beginning here, Cubby.
Yes, this was the, we banned 5 junglers from UG, and he was stuck with Rek'Sai game, as Mir kind of went off in this one with the Nautilus mid. Him and APA did some really good work as a mid-jungle duo, playing each style, and then, moving on forward, the Quack attack, we don't see him for playoffs, but we still remember him.
Remember him fondly.
And that was redemption, by the way. Play of the week number 1 should have been Quacker. Him getting play of the week number 2 felt really, really good. And Quacker had a lot of highlight plays for sure. And this definitely being one of them with the teleport play he was able to make and just surprising everyone, showing that he owns the space. But this was a fun one right here because we got the comms on it.
The comms were the best part of this play. Like, the play itself, it's a pretty typical pentakill, right? You just got to last hitting people who get low. No one's really hitting him,
penta.
but it's just screaming like, literally screaming pentakill the entire time. The whole team getting the war chance going on.
So I was in bed recovering from moving the other day, and I could just hear Mazel and Kangas and all of them going mocking the comms from a floor above. Just wanted to bring that up right now as we get a look at the Tomio's play of the week as well. This was so brutal. Beautiful flash, beautiful angle, everything from Tomio.
I like the fact we see that clip too, because it really feels like in the back half of the split, this guys have been putting Young more so on the melees. So, you know, using that Nico flex before, it was really something that we all expect, Young being on his style of picks in the Akali, the Aurelia. That flex really caught people off guard, and Tomio has always been a great magic damage jungler. So that was really good to see. And of course, we had the parry base defense. The comms were a lot more cool, calm, and collected for that one. You know, they really patched things up.
That one was calmer, but it was still kind of crazy, like, to see that parry was the one that was calm. Everyone else was going wild. But this play right here, God, watching this one live was just absolutely insane to see. Just Young with the absolute heroic play that kept the game going. This game, you and I were like convinced that EGC were going to win that one. But from that moment on, this guys, it felt like, figured out the game plan of how to finally beat that composition, which was never let them set up and just constantly fight.
That fight broke the game. The fact they took down 3 members when Disguise respawned, they took the Baron, then they took all the structures on the top side, and they actually returned top side because they're like, we can't siege more towers. We just have to go end the game now against this guy. So it was really creative from Disguised, and hopefully they can summon some of that energy later today against AoE.
Yeah, but that was the regular season. We are in playoffs now. So let's take a look at the bracket. We had games played yesterday. Both of them ended up being 2-0s. We kind of expect that from TLC, our dominant #1 seeded team, going up against poor Collegiate Maryville there, and then absolutely crushing them in the 2-0. But then Fear kind of doing the same thing to Wildcard like we had seen just last week from them when they faced off into the best of 2.
I loved it because, you know, for Wildcard, it's a shame. It does feel like they have some issues that are currently plaguing them. But for Fear, they're correcting a lot of the things we wanted them to coming into playoffs, really dialing in those recipes to what worked. And good gracious, did it work. I mean, they took down Wildcard in a very convincing manner. Same thing with TLC. And now we get to see who advances to round 2 in the upper bracket today, Match.
Yes, we do. We have FlyQuest Challengers versus Evil Geniuses Challengers to start it off, and then we round out the day with Disguise versus AoE Gold. The winner of each of these teams will face off in round 2, while the losers will face off in the lower bracket for their tournament lives, because it is double elimination. So that is something that all the teams, they can, I guess, look forward to, is the fact that even if they lose here, even if they have really tough opponents now, they still have another chance to make that deep run in the lower bracket.
Definitely something that has been exciting in the past, too. I remember the 100 Thieves Academy getting upset in spring in round 1 by AoE Ginger Turmeric Deserux. They made it all the way to finals. Our bracket isn't quite as big as we have 8 teams, but still having 2 lives is something we've seen a lot of teams make good use of as they scale throughout playoffs. And especially this patch, which is new and people still have to really figure out. This is the first tournament on patch 13.14. So it's been really curious to see the reads that our teams have, and definitely going to be a big part of our conversation as we dive into the matches today.
Yeah, and speaking of that, let's go into our first team here. The second-seeded FlyQuest Challengers. I'll bring it up because I always like to. The second-seed curse, it did get thwarted beforehand. We didn't have it in spring. But you know what? This one, going into this matchup, they're facing off against a red-hot Evil Geniuses Challengers. This is actually where we could, like, even if you say second seed curse, and I'm memeing about it now, this is a likely chance that they actually can get upset here against Evil Geniuses, because when we look at FlyQuest Challengers, even though they're a very strong team here, Deserex, it is going to be really hard for them to try to overcome that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw the play that happened in the regular season before. Evil Geniuses were able to get the better of FlyQuest. It almost felt like Evil Geniuses were the kryptonite of FlyQuest. So for FlyQuest to step up here, they're definitely going to have a really set game plan. And that's usually going to revolve around Masu, that star marksman that you have on FlyQuest, keeping him safe for the later stages of the game.
Yeah, and then going over to Evil Geniuses Challengers on the other side. That's why we were kind of alluding to that one, just because, well, FlyQuest Challengers, second seed, strong team, Masu, looking at this guy to carry the team. This is an Evil Geniuses that was red hot towards the latter half of the split, but they are stepping in with a new jungler now, Cubby. Armeo is coming in from the LCS into the Challengers League.
Yeah, and Armeo really is the king of this league. We talk so much about the two chains that Bradley and Harry have, but bringing in Armeo now as well, it's great to see him back in Challengers. I know that it's kind of a bummer, the fact he's not playing LCS, but I know from talking with Armeo, he still is playing to try and get LCS playoff time with EG, so that is something that I'm going to be looking out for, just how Armeo is able to meld together with this roster, but it is someone that has a coaching background. Armeo has hopped into teams multiple times in emergency sub situations, thinking back to Santorin taking a step back with TL, TSM. If anyone's going to be able to do this smoothly, it is Armeo. He's a player that garners a lot of respect in the space, especially at this level, and I'm really excited to see them go toe-to-toe against UG, as each jungler has had a lot of mutual respect for the other in their history competing in Academy, especially last year.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think this is going to be a really interesting matchup to see how they're going to face off against one another, because looking back to the regular season, Evil Geniuses did get the better end of FlyQuest Challengers, which I think surprised a lot of people, because it's not like FlyQuest were any slouches when it came to how the regular season really went for themselves.
I mean, don't forget, FlyQuest did take the first 2-0, but that was at a time where we didn't have an Evil Geniuses that was really clicking together. That was when Soul was on the roster, and there was a lot of moments where you could see this team tilting. Second half of the round robin, completely different beast. They're playing game plans much more tightly than you've ever seen them do in the past before, including that 1-3-1 that they pulled out against FlyQuest before, as well as following it up with that battle of attrition game where you had King on the Seraphine. It seems like they have solid game plans, which makes me even more excited for Armeo, because Armeo is he's a very intelligent player when it comes to formulating those for a squad, and I think he's going to be a big benefit for Evil Geniuses in that.
Sorry to everyone, I think we got the wrong replays here on the screen for you. These are from the ones that we had yesterday, so if we can come back to us, we'll talk a little bit more about like how these games really went for everyone, because I think, Cubby, like we were saying, it was a big surprise. It was something that we have seen Evil Geniuses grow, but now it's how does Ryoma pair up with someone like Armeo? Since Shaden, they seem like they're finally starting to really step in the same tune with one another going into the last half of the split.
It's really funny as we return to what happened in Week 5, Day 3. EGC, they played 3 lanes against FlyQuest and really never allowed them to team fight on even footing with Masu, who I really feel like FlyQuest plays to enable Masu and Spyrax as much as possible with the pieces around them. EG just played out the solo lanes and played really well in this series. But it's funny, returning to the Ryoma Armeo point, these guys were rivals. Like, this was the 100 Thieves Academy versus TLA matchup. Ryoma, of course, in 21. I was talking with Armeo earlier. It's like, yeah, we were going over some VODs like from 21, because those were the 2 top teams that we had. They played in the Proving Grounds finals. And it really is a different relationship, because Ryoma felt like more of a mentor figure towards Shaden, giving him more direction in the game. Armeo is the one that gives direction to his teams. And is someone that has been very dominant in early game. We saw him with Team Liquid at his time here. When he gets a lead, he does not let that go in Challengers. So it's something where it's almost like the 2 really strong pieces from 21 that played in all the finals now with EG in the 7th seed. This is a team that no one wanted to draw in the first round from talking with all the teams that we have in Challengers. And again, I'm just really excited to see these 2 teams go toe-to-toe.
Someone had to draw the short stick, right? Someone had to be that one, and it happens to be our second-seeded team in FlyQuest. But let's kind of look at how these 2 teams really have found a lot of their successes. Evil Geniuses, it feels like with Surdy now in the lineup, it really has been about attacking in the top lane early and setting up these dives right out of the gates, Cubby.
Surdy's landing phase has been phenomenal ever since he has joined in Challengers. We have seen him get solo leads, and then we have seen EG play around those solo leads to really break open the map. Whereas on the flip side, we've seen FlyQuest all split, play through bot lane, play through Masu, and even when Masu's on his lonesome, Deserex, we have sometimes seen Masu find the outplays as well.
I've never heard you scream the way you have for any other player other than Masu with some of the plays he's been making. But I mean, he is incredible to say the least. Definitely having an outstanding rookie year thus far, and really showing that with the level of hands that he has, both in the 2v2 and of course being able to get towards the later stages of the game and really show that off in the team fight phase. Right now, it's really feeling like Masu is an LCS caliber player, because if he keeps putting on performances like that, I won't be surprised if next year we'll see him.
I mean, what is it? His third competitive split that he's playing, and he's already putting this kind of performance up. Even King, over on the other side, had some kind words to say about Masu.
I feel like a year ago, we would take all those players, right?
Yeah, Meech era.
Yeah, Meech era and Masu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't even know who Masu was.
Yeah, exactly.
Was
That's what I mean. I was like, bro, like, isn't this guy's like some amateur player?
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, they're actually not bad.
I do think he's a lot better in scrims than he's on stage, though. I'm pretty sure I just got worse.
Do you think that's because you spent so much time in O's?
Exactly,
And
yes.
so
I barely
trash.
played O's, so, yeah.
Coming from King, I think those are the kindest words you can get from him. The fact that he goes, he's pretty good. Yeah, he's all right.
I never even heard of the guy. Like,
I never heard of him before. Yeah. I think those are probably the nicest words that you can get out of King. But you know what? We'll see if Masu can really live up to this name that we've had for him. The Wi-Fi wizard himself up against King, who has been dominating in the bot lane himself. But both you guys got to get us into this first game of our best of 3. I'm excited to see if the second seed curse is going to be real for FlyQuest Challengers, or if they can overcome that and topple Evil Genius Challengers. Gentlemen, get us underway.
Ooh, I will happily start up the draft now, as this game, it's going to be a clash of styles, man, and that's the exciting part about it. You had already said it a little bit earlier. We play around Masu on FlyQuest for EGC. It's about those solo lanes.
It's honestly a really fun matchup coming in, because I feel like each of these teams have very different styles. E.g., playing out these 1-3-1, just push lane compositions, use that pressure to create numbers advantage, and then those are the fights that you take. Whereas FlyQuest, they love taking Peel for Masu, and Masu and Spyrax will do so much work in these team fights, as I think that FlyQuest, the supporting cast, plays really well around Masu and Spyrax, and these two players are good enough where if they get the tools from FlySol, UG, and Winsome, they will deliver team fight wins and Nexus explosions for FlyQuest. So it's going to be a fun one to see. They were the best team we had of the second round robin. EG really came into their own of the second round robin, and with clashing styles that each team can really execute well, it's always fun to see those types of matchups go toe-to-toe.
All right, the band's already coming in. They are taking a couple of picks that we know Armeo to play. I remember last summer he did play the Poppy quite a bit. Sejuani is the #1 pick he's been playing in the LCS, so FlyQuest instantly getting the lock for the heavy engage in the front line.
And the Kaisa is up. With Sejuani being first pick, this tells me that FlyQuest are going to play a bit more early game pressure. It is a bit of a deny away from Evil Geniuses, as Surdy, his champ pool, goes very well with what we have seen, especially with EG attacking the top side. Been a big pick for UG himself, but still curious to see Kaisa actually not picked up. It doesn't synergize too well with the Sejuani, and it is tough to lane into Xayah plus Rakan. So I think that EG is kind of taking the gambit. They can secure Xayah Rakan and find Kaisa later in the draft. Or if FlyQuest do lock in that Kaisa, it will have bot lane priority. They can get jungle counterpick and mid lane counterpick to try and attack.
And with these first 2 picks coming in for EGC, the Rakan, we haven't talked too much about Smoothie. I do feel like he was having pretty good performances at the tail end of the split as well. That was a little bit less recognized than the rest of his team. So having that alongside King, getting him on some engage, could work well for EGC. But right now, FlyQuest, they are going to lock in that Jax. And they got one more pick to go before we end out the first phase of the draft.
Actually, you know, Deserex, curious side note here. As we do see the Jax locked in, that is a champ that is very popular for the side of Surdy, actually, as we have Yone now locked in for Spyrax. So a lot of strength showing, and honestly just daring Evil Geniuses to take Kaisa for themselves. I don't think we're going to see Kaisa played unless it is in Masu's hands in the bot lane. But keep in mind, way back we talked about 21 earlier. Surdy and Faisal both come from that Evil Geniuses tree of top laners. Faisal was the top laner for Evil Geniuses Prodigies while Surdy was on EG Academy. They took neither of them as they went with Soul to start off this year. Surdy is now back. Faisal found his home finally in Challengers, as that was long overdue. I think that Faisal is a very strong player. Very different styles in the top lane, but very excited to see these two go toe-to-toe, as I'm sure they're very familiar with each other, given the history between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, last split was you had Faisal that was on Cincinnati Fear with Surdy being on Team Liquid first. One of those teams doing better than the others, Surdy getting called in a little bit later to hop back in with EGC. Now focusing back onto the draft, we do have that Kennen locked in for EGC, and the Kai'Sa we were talking about now banned away in the second phase.
Not wanting to give Masu that champion, especially after watching what Masu did in Week 6 with the Kai'Sa. Zyricon is a matchup that can win, but just not wanting to deal with that. Rel's still on the board. We'll see if they take that away from Winsome, as I do not mind that matchup in Rubicon, but instead actually going to be a Karthus deny. Karthus did see some buffs on 13-14, and Masu and FlyQuest Challengers, they do need magic damage. So I think between Karthus and Ziggs, they're going to let through the Ziggs. We'll see if Masu is able to set that off, as that is the pick I am expecting to see from him in the bot side. Likely a Ziggs Nautilus coming out of the side of FlyQuest and EG. I expect a mid counter, as they have the choice of either mid or jungle that they can take here. Trundle is on the board for Armeo. Honestly, not a bad pick into everything that is showing for the side of FlyQuest. Would really help heal, and can, of course, take the stats of Sejuani, which always feels good.
No, the only thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is we were kind of hyping it up before we actually went live. It was the Aatrox that has been buffed up around this patch, and so far, no one really willing to lean towards it, Cubby.
Yeah, playing into Sejuani lanes, it is really tough to play Aatrox because he wants a longer team fight. Really not an option here when you do have Sejuani Jax and Sejuani Yone. And it's actually curious, it's a different style coming out of FlyQuest. Keep in mind, when they lost to EG, they lost as EG were playing out those 3 lanes, Deserux. Now we have extremely strong solo lanes with the Jax Yone paired up with Sejuani. And Masu, I was predicting the Ziggs, but he's going to find magic damage elsewhere as it's a Kog'Maw locked in. Usually we see this paired up with Braum, as G2 has been running that bot lane quite a bit. Winsome, though, hovering his Leona that has been very good for him the back half of the split as a positive matchup in Recon.
And we kind of talked about the game plan of FlyQuest being protect the puppy. It's a real callback to those old strategies, protect the puppy. When you do run the Kog'Maw, you want to get the Kog'Maw to the late game and tear apart everything that steps up in front of it. But it's a great team fight. It's a lot of crowd control coming out for FlyQuest Challengers.
I will say, when we have seen Kog'Maw this season, it actually has been more of like an early to mid game pick. Trying to spike at 9 and that Rage Blade, pairing it up with things like Braum. So difficult to deal with Kog'Maw at those stages. So it is something I'm really interested to see, as FlyQuest have a lot of strength at that portion of the game, as we have a Cassiopeia to round things out in the mid lane. So Ryoma looking to bully this Yone a little bit. And my eyes will really be on the mid lane to see if Yone Sejuani can really punish the Cassio, or if that Rel is able to have a big impact mid. As I think the 2v2 and likely the 3v3s, given the supports we have, are going to really dictate this game around the mid lane.
Now, I do want to see how this is going to play out, especially in the grand scheme of things, and how Evil Geniuses will look to try and put a stop to Masu and this Kog'Maw in particular. Rel does really good when it comes to trying to find ganks very early on and getting leads for the squad of EGC. There's a lot of pressure that you can get onto this Kog'Maw, and remember, Kog'Maw is not that mobile. Doesn't have that much that can really get you away from tight situations. So if they can stick down onto this Kog'Maw and try and find the engages there, it's a real chance for EGC to kind of just steamroll ahead. There's still a lot more they have to worry about, Cubby.
I really like the Cassio pick here on 5. I think that's good use of 5 pick for Ryoma. It can interact with everyone but the Kog'Maw on the side of FlyQuest and can try and stuff the solo lanes. Oh boy, that is an AP Kog'Maw. They needed magic damage. It's going to be poke Kog.
Okay.
That's right. Very okay. That really changes up what we were setting up for this game.
Now the poke Kog or FlyQuest Challengers. Source of magic damage will be found. And as we hit the rift right now, go ahead and spam in chat who you think is going to win. Will it be FlyQuest Challengers? Type in FlyC for that, or Evil Geniuses Challengers. Type in EGC. Again, both of these teams did meet in the regular season not too long ago, and it was EGC who took that 2-0 victory in a very commanding fashion with game plans set and executed to a T. Now, Evil Geniuses trying to repeat history with this one.
I love that you bring that up, Deserex, because it really feels like FlyQuest have learned from that loss against EG. This Jax Yone is something that they were running in Week 6, but this is very solo lane-centric themselves, so almost trying to beat EG the way that EG beat them. Now, I will say that EG, it is, I don't think it's going to be the Shiv as we are in 13.14 for the Kennen. There were some changes, but still the idea is the same. It is about the solo lane strength for EG and using the Kennen and the Cassio to try and push around this Yone Jax later. I think wherever the Sejuani isn't, the EG solo laner can win. Jax will outscale Kennen in the side lane matchup, but Kennen does have the ability to set Jax very far behind early. So Surdy has been really good early, so we'll see if he can cash that in.
As this game gets started, and as the junglers start pathing away and the lanes start moving, we do want to hear what Spyrax had to say, so let's pull that up.
I think it's going to be one of our toughest opponents, considering in the second round robin they've been playing pretty well, like at a much better level than compared to like the beginning of the split, and especially with the addition of Sturdy. I think the team is a lot more flexible on how they want to play the game, so it's definitely a tough opponent.
A lot of teams now have quite a lot of newfound respect for Evil Geniuses, Gubby.
Ooh. I think that EG has earned that, given the play. But I do want to pause as we have each jungler looking for vertical play as Winsome.
Already flashing. King burns it out. It's Smoothie who's caught out. UG looking to match it with the Arctic Assault, but the good thing about the Xayah Rakan combo can just glide on away, and no gank gonna find success just yet. Instead, King and Smoothie will move on out, chasing on to UG.
I really like this from EG's bot lane. They got that wave all the way in. So yeah, Smoothie's going to take some damage, but they are still able to delay UG's clear. And while that is going on, Armeo is just taking away his camps on the top side of the map. So EG still have the opportunity to maybe even set up a dive onto this Jax, while UG is just forced to look mid. Will not be pulled off by the side of Armeo, but this puts UG very far behind in the jungle matchup.
I mean, right now, Faisal is taking a bit of damage on the top side. Wave is crashing in. Instead, Armeo will just wait for the Scuttle Crab to spawn up. We'll take that instead. But the focus for UG is going to be in the bottom lane.
Yeah.
That's the flash available. Waiting for his opportunity. Flash going to be burnt. Going right after King. Able to land it onto him. Looking for the permafrost to find the stun. It's first blood going over to Masu.
Not even going to burn the cleanse as too much CC and damage coming in. UG isn't able to get the camps, and now it might be contested. Winsome is rotating up to help UG secure this crab for himself.
Right there, the bodyguard, Winsome. Holds the line, chases away Armeo. Armeo did get the crab over up top, but the play from UG to go for that dive, to flash over the wall, and to stifle King early, going to be successful.
And it is a different draft strategy from FlyQuest, given that they are trying to play 3 lanes. We can still see the in-game strategy being similar for each of these teams, what we set up before the game, Deserex. Top side focus, we have Armeo clearing his 3 camps on the top side, going immediately to at least threaten a dive on the Faisal, whereas bot side, UG already with 2 visits, and successful visits at that as well for the side of FlyQuest. So each team playing towards what we expected to be their win cons early as Spyrax. Hold on, he's dead.
Oh, Spyrax goes down. Flash forward from Ryoma. Solo Bolo coming out from the snake. Will take down Spyrax and give a kill back to EG. But here comes UG once again. Party pooper he will be, taking a kill for FlyQuest.
Rambo's trying to get that lane in. He didn't have access to the TP, and honestly, that lane's in a really tough spot. Spyrax can TP back and get a lot of that. So Rambo going to be a little bit up in gold, but honestly, in the back half of that, Spyrax will be up on XP. That is important because with the flash being down for Cassiopeia, Sejuani and Yone can set up easily for a 2v2 gank. We did talk early on about, oh boy.
Yeah, here we go.
Nice dodge from Masu.
Looking for the engage, but Masu will find that sidestep, and it's Smoothie who's in a world hurt right now. The feathers are being established, and King able to get some space back for Smoothie to not go down. Masu getting the outplay in the small little micro.
Just keep your eyes on mid lane as Ryoma. I really expect UG to make a visit here when Spyrax hits 6. Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Ultimate comes out from Spyrax. Doesn't quite land it, but oh, Ryoma will fall nonetheless. The Petrifying Gaze goes wide, and Spyrax gets some redemption.
No jungle help needed. It is just the solo kill coming out from Spyrax as he takes down Ryoma, and things slightly falling apart here for EG as the bot lane. King getting forced off early by this poke Kog'Maw that used the tech that we're seeing on the Ziggs, on the Seraphine Desert where it's that early Lost Chapter buy to make sure that you have the mana to sustain. King gonna have to drop that wave in the bot side, and FlyQuest find leads in 2 of their lanes, and now even looking for a lead in the 3rd, but UG will be spotted.
Yeah, UG's looking to impact the entire map right now. Again, that ward was there, so Surdy, knowing that UG's in that direction, it does beckon Armeo over to the dragon. All gonna be made. Armeo's there. Now the bot lane of EGC trying to provide some presence over there. Ryoma shoving in the mid wave.
King was forced to reset, so him showing up first in this lane should be enough to make sure that EG picks this up before Ryoma's got no flash, and he was playing with a little bit of flyer there.
Yeah.
Winsome going to try and get around this ward, actually, and they're going to set up a play on Ryoma.
Oh, wow. Winsome playing it so smart with the pathing, gets right past the ward, and it's another kill for Spyrax.
That is so well done by FlyQuest Challengers and Winsome.
This is impressive.
He saw the ward, like, playing around the information that is known. Ryoma had no idea that trap was being laid against him. He goes down again. And this lead mid is starting to get rather scary for the side of FlyQuest, because if the Cassio gets too far behind, she will not be able to match either solo laner for FlyQuest in the side lane later on in the game. And also, playing Cassio against a Kog'Maw, you can interact with everyone on the map except for this Kog'Maw. Masu is ahead right now, and EG looking to maybe even change that.
Yeah, great execution for FlyQuest. Evil Geniuses looking for one in the bottom lane. Stunned up. Shield of Daybreak will stop Armeo. And the flash burnt out of Winsome, burnt out of Masu from Armeo's gank.
Well done by Armeo to get something for EG, but it still doesn't lead to any kills, and Armeo burned his flash himself. So no ability to contest the bot side camps here on the side of Armeo. He will have to reset, and Herald is now going to be the focus for each of these teams. So EG, they were able to get Dragon because King was forced off by Masu. FlyQuest are fine with that trade. You just want to get Masu gold.
Oh my word.
Oh boy.
AP God.
Calculated?
Yeah, calculated. We'll just say that. That was sub 20 health that King's going to walk away. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing for the future, because remember, it is the AP Kog'Maw we're dealing with.
I feel like the first ARAM build that entered the season was the Shiv, and now we just have AP Cog coming in, right? We're just finding all the ARAM strats here. As you can see, Winsome, thanks to our observers for that toggle, saw the ward was dropped, got around it with a Hex Flash. Ryoma has no idea that was happening to him, and he was dead instantly once Winsome Hex flashes over that wall. EG, yes, they were able to pick up the Dragon, but this game state is great for FlyQuest right now. Mid's too far behind. Ryoma can't get pushed and still doesn't have that flash up, so this Herald will be seeded to FlyQuest Challengers as we return to live. That is a big win condition that is now picked up by FlyQuest and denied from EG, as it did draft for topside strength with the Cassio and Kennen counters. And because of what Spyrax and UG have been able to accomplish early, the Herald goes over to free on the side of FlyQuest.
It's great little small plays being made from both UG and Winsome. I mean, Winsome, you saw what happened in the mid lane earlier, did use that Hex Flash, got around the ward, a very smart play at that one, while UG has just been running this map in the name of FlyQuest and showing why he's always been in that top jungler conversation.
Again, it is someone that Armeo really respected. I know last split, he felt like UG was the strongest jungler next to him, as we did have these two go toe-to-toe in summer. I even asked Armeo about it today. He said, you know, still have a lot of respect for UG, but I'm here to play and try and earn some playoff time for Evil Geniuses in LCS. So with Armeo having that insights, still, I feel like that is the true goal for him. And that has to be the case. Taking down a jungler like UG, who I think has garnered still a lot of respect in this space, it's not free. As speaking of free, Ryoma's dead.
The fate is sealed for Ryoma, and Spyrax will grab another kill in the mid lane. That's the 4th death coming out for EGC's mid laner. They are really sticking it over there, and they'll continue the snowball as the Herald's going to be placed mid lane.
Yeah, you know, back in 21, Ryoma and 100 Thieves were the bane of Armeo's existence, as it was a 4-man shockwave that secured that Summer Proving Grounds title for 100 Thieves, and it feels like Ryoma, unfortunately, is being the bane of Armeo's existence a little bit here, as 1-4 on the Casio, getting crushed by the side of FlyQuest, this mid-jungle duo. It's making the game really hard for Evil Geniuses, because now FlyQuest, they can take that mid lead, and you can see Yuji going to pressure bot again, make life even more difficult for King and Smoothie. As, oh boy, TP coming in. Masu, he's alone.
Evil Genius is looking for the play. They catch Masu out by his lonesome, and Ryoma will sink the fangs into the back of the Kog'Maw. A kill, finally something for Ryoma as Yuji Arctic Assaults away.
Great map play from Ryoma, and really good recovery off that mid-death. Flashes were burned bot, as you pointed out earlier, Desterux, and EG able to keep the game a little bit quick and able to punish that, get some gold over the Casio, which he really needs.
Something that Evil Geniuses really needed with how much control FlyQuest had established onto this game. Using that teleport very wisely. I mean, for Ryoma, it has been a lot of suffering into that mid lane. Cassiopeia, not the most mobile of mid lane champions, and can't even buy boots to remedy that. You're just waiting for the scaling to come through. So that punish there finally remedied with that teleport into the bottom lane.
You can see the true setup for FlyQuest now, and it is the 1-3-1 strategy. With this AP Cog mid, you can poke wave clear from such a great distance. It is so difficult for Evil Geniuses to force on this pick in the mid lane. And now you have Spyrax and Jax in the side lanes, whichever side is... Oh, hold on, King's dead.
Oh, that was close right there. Spyrax, if he went for one more, he would have went down with King.
Yeah.
Now Evil Genius is posturing to protect King, while FlyQuest are starting up the Dragon.
That's a big chunk. King doesn't have TP. Lost in the flash. Spyrax, he can TP right back to this. So this should be going over to FlyQuest for free. Would be very surprised if EG commit, as the TP is dropped. That's enough to force EG off, and that second Dragon goes over to the side of FlyQuest.
FlyQuest claim it quite easily right there. That teleport advantage working out. Spyrax going for that play. Evil Geniuses can't challenge in the immediate. No Infernal Drake. As well as stopping the Dragon stack that Evil Geniuses could have potentially gone for. 3K lead 12 minutes into this. We have an Ocean map.
A little bit of serenity and calm in what has been a rather back and forth game in terms of trades. As Armeo goes back, and oh boy.
There is no calm here, Cubby. It's a kill onto Smoothie, and right now, Spyrax and Yuji, they are unleashed.
Love that from FlyQuest. Another vision play from them, Desterux. It was a base on a ward for Armeo. Smoothie sticks around to try and protect King. Once Armeo leaves, they execute the play, and now King, he's trying to get this wave, but he's in trouble, man.
Oh no, Featherstorm comes out, but here comes Armeo looking to protect. And the Blade Caller will grab one, takes down Yuji, but look at that full health Masu. He can just wail away, and gives it over to Spyrax. Armeo cuts off the rest of the squad, and now this will leave, unfortunately, Spyrax by himself. A shutdown picked up by Surdy. A lot of gold going right back over to Evil Geniuses.
They won't be able to answer the top wave as Jax has a few seconds left to try and get some points. As Armeo actually still pushing, surprisingly, just going to drop the stun. As nice recovery from Armeo. He sprints bottom, and FlyQuest overreach a little bit, but still FlyQuest, they're the ones winning out on the map. They get the TP from Surdy, 2 points over to the Jax. Masu survived throughout all that. So it really only is that 1-for-1 trade, which was opened up by, obviously, King playing that as well as he could in the bot side. But it's still FlyQuest that has a 3K gold lead, as Jax was just able to pick up the points for free on the top side.
It was really the best you could have asked for given the situation for Evil Geniuses. Armeo racing down here.
You see King, he goes airborne. He sidesteps everything, finds the rip, dodges out on the Leona ult, the 2 Kog'Maw ults, even spaces a Q coming out of the Yone too. That's just like the best that King could play it. As we see the TP just barely get in for Surdy. FlyQuest, their bot lane, they burned both flashes to get out, so I think that's where EG is going to look to punish next. But again, with this mid game coming in, it's so hard to push Kog'Maw and Leona out of the mid lane. They can farm from such a great range and have such great wave clear. It's really hard to even get any windows to try and take down this Kog'Maw.
You need more plays to go your way, because even with this last little situation that we had unfold, it's still FlyQuest finding things elsewhere on the map. They got pressure over into that top lane, and now Spyrax going for the 1v1 onto Surdy. Puts a lot of hurdy onto Surdy, forces him to back off.
This is exactly how FlyQuest wanted to play into EG, as that Chunk's actually going to get a TP out of Ryoma to try and answer this wave. Surdy doesn't have that in power TP, so he's going to be running bot to match the Jax. But that guarantees pretty much this Rick Tail is going to go over to FlyQuest. You can see Armeo, he wants nothing to do with this Yone. Spyrax is way too far ahead this game, Desrex. Whatever side lane he's in,
kills.
FlyQuest is going to crush.
5 kills on this Yone right now. He's waiting to seal the fate of anyone from Evil Geniuses who step out of position. And Evil Geniuses, they can't contest with the Rift Herald. Instead, it's going to be FlyQuest to get it. 3.5k lead. Going to be looking to place that pretty soon to continue this snowball. And it's just been more and more gold throughout the game. In fact, I want to see where some of that gold has been allocated so far, and where Spyrax is relative to the rest of the map.
And you can see Spyrax, he's even itemizing to be in these side lanes, Desrex. He has the Bork and is going for the Wit's End, as each solo laner for EG will be dealing magic damage. So it is a full commit to side laning for FlyQuest Challengers. And I gotta say, this is something I've really liked out of FlyQuest Challengers in each of our splits, Desrex. They feel like a strategically flexible team. It was like this in spring. It's like this again in summer. This is not what we have seen FlyQuest run for the majority of the year. But the fact they are able to pull it out, because I feel like it matches up better in the EG, and they can execute it, speaks really highly to really the flexibility of these players.
Now the attack going on to the top side. Smoothie will be able to step away. It's just FlyQuest setting up positioning over here with the minion wave, shoving that through. They'll start rotating over towards the bottom side. At the same time, you have Faisal, who's looking to collapse over there. As they are putting their attention towards that side, it's 40 seconds until the dragon spawns, so getting these wave states going to be part of the game plan for FlyQuest, as well as taking some turrets. No one can respond to this mid lane one.
It is so difficult for EG to play right now, as they are losing each of their side lanes. Mid prio is going over to the Cogba, of course with the magic damage. And EG, it really just has to come down to a pocket that Armeo and Smoothie are able to create to try and execute on the FlyQuest, who I think are playing this game out very, very well. Spyrax picked up a lead solo, but also just the pathing that UG had early, Desirux, really felt like it was just so focused on making sure that Masu was just a little bit ahead on this AP Kog'Maw. Spyrax ended up getting ahead on his own, and from there, it's just been FlyQuest running away with this one, as it's a 5k gold lead before the 18-minute mark. That is very significant in favor of FlyQuest.
I mean, Masu gets hyped up so much for FlyQuest and everything that he does, but don't forget, Spyrax is still very much a competent player, competent mid laner. You know, finished, what was it, 5th or 6th last spring. Unfortunately went down to fear in the process. Kind of came into this season a little bit shaky, I felt like, in the beginning starts of it, but as time went on, Spyrax always has those moments where he can step up and be a starring role for this roster of FlyQuest.
And he is a player that I feel like, now I've seen 4 splits of Spyrax, I do think that Spyrax does scale in most of his splits. It really felt like he did so in this one. And also, you know, praising his flexibility. So good on the AD champions. Like, his Azir is his best champ historically, but I think that he is one of the better Jaces that we have in Challengers. His Yone has always been really strong, along with his Yasuo. So again, FlyQuest is able to lean on Spyrax's flexibility in the mid lane along with a lot of their players. It allows them to create strats like this, which I feel like really counter what EG want to do on a map, which is pretty much always 1-3-1, right? King and Smoothie, they're a strong 2v2 on their lonesome. They open up space for Armeo or Shaden to go elsewhere. But with the direct counter that FlyQuest had to the playstyle, it feels like EG just were never really able to get anything going here, Desiree.
That round robin number 2 game, Evil Geniuses did have control. They were able to fight back and forth, and they were able to execute that to a T. But you alluded to it a little bit earlier when the game did start, Cubby, that this is a FlyQuest that can learn and adapt to the situations from the past, from the mistakes that they've made in the past, and this is showing that adaptation really live on display right now as they take a 5.8k gold lead just shy of 20 minutes.
Again, the only cogs we've seen have been Cog Braum variety. We have not seen, you know, ARAM Cog come out quite a bit. Masu continuing to show his flexibility as a young player too. We know that he is fantastic as a marksman and spacing, but also just showing that he can play the mages, in this case, rather well. As here we go. These are the answers for EG. It looks like we're going to be attacking the Jax, as Spyrax is too far ahead as this Yone. Smoothie did sneak his way down here, but with Baron up, Smoothie is kind of concerned about staying down here too long, in case it is a Baron start for the side of FlyQuest. They don't do it super incredibly fast. Bork helps, as Spyrax is fed, but AP Cog not going to melt the Baron, quite like the standard Cog, but he is melting champions. Yeah, he is melting the champs.
That was one combo onto King, and half his health gone. And remember, this is a lot of range safety that you have. That sidestep from King will ensure that he will not go down after that last little engage coming out from Yuji. So King still showing that he has those mechanical hands, that prowess ready, but he's got to watch out because this poke for Masu, it is threatening.
I know Masu has just been, hold on, Wisdom's, okay, not going to make a play on the side of EG. They don't see the Yone right now, which I think is a little bit scary, as he is now just found in Armeo. Nice crash down, gets Winston on the back half. What I was going to talk about, Desirux, is that, yeah, Masu, we have a lot of deserved hype towards him, but I really feel like King has had a fantastic sport.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. He was the most consistent member of Evil Geniuses, even when they were going through some of their turbulent times when they had Soul over in that top lane.
Yeah, it was a team where it really felt like they were playing around him, and the wins that EG picked up early in the season were 1v9s from King at times, and now, props to King. I mean, on his lone side. Oh, hold on. That's the wrong. You want to auto the ward there, Smoothie, not the Baron. Yeah, that thing bites back. I do feel like King, him in the 2v2, like, all the resources are going towards the soul lanes of EG, and King has been able to hold steady. I know that he was really put under pressure this game, but you're seeing the nice moments from King where it feels like even in tough situations, mechanically, he's getting as much out of those situations as possible. We have seen from King all split, especially when he has been on his Xayah, as his Xayah is 6-1 this split. And EG hoping to retain that positive win rate here, as they still find themselves very far behind against FlyQuest.
And good thing for Evil Geniuses, player just mentioned, King, did finish this very quick plate, so 2 items now completed.
Yeah.
Which means he's keeping up rather decently with everyone else in this game, all given the situation that, as you had said, was pressure onto King in the early, still surviving, and still can bring some presence for this mid-game. Gonna need it quite soon, though. Another dragon will be spawning in 50 seconds. Evil Geniuses were able to get 2. King got out again. For Yuji, was able to burn out his Featherstorm, ultimate for ultimate. As the Solar Flare goes down, it lands onto Armeo. Masu chipping away at the safest range possible at the health bar of King.
Holy cow, man. I mean, Masu just a brand new pick for him, and he looks like the American sniper. I mean, I know he's not, originally from NA. It counts as an NA resident, but oh my. Masu, it's been grinding hard. Apparently, ARAMs too, as this has just been a massive cog bomb. Something brand new from Masu, continuing to innovate as a young player. Oh boy, Spyrax, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, Spyrax chunks him out. 3 members of EG there, but Spyrax not gonna be worried. Will he be able to tether back?
I love the discipline that FlyQuest is playing with in this match. Just taking what is given to them, not overextending on anything. They realize that the dragon is up. They like to pick that one up for themselves for free. The chunks they were able to find on EG between Masu chunking out King, and now the chunk that Spyrax found on the Smoothie just opens this one up for free. And FlyQuest playing this game out really cleanly, especially from our Challengers team. Desirux, always love to see discipline. I think that is one of the big differences right now between Team Liquid Challengers and everyone else, but FlyQuest showing some of that themselves in a different strat from what we're used to seeing from them, as this team really continues to impress in the first game today.
Flexibility of FlyQuest on display, and even with Masu being on this Kog'Maw, taking the AP build, even though it's not the first time we've seen him on Kog, it's the first time we've seen him going the ARAM route. With that means he's 2 levels away from maxing out his ultimate, which means the range is going to get even longer, and this poke so much more devastating.
That gets scary, because that's when you start to get, I don't want to say Kai'Sa levels of range in poke, but it almost feels like this pick is a wee bit of a replacement to the Kai'Sa. Also, if you want to get down a really nitty-gritty tech, I actually really like the Leona pairing. Because when you're going up against Leona's marksman, you almost always want to take Cleanse. Because you want Ghost against Cog, want to try and sidestep all these kill shots, as King gonna burn the flash. Still really well played by King. Spyrax gets caught.
Oh, Spyrax tries to land the fake sailed onto King, doesn't catch him. Surdy doesn't go over the wall. Doesn't actually call it for the flash. Thought the Maelstrom was gonna go on to Masu. Didn't feel confident enough. Neither did the rest of EG.
Nice turn from Smoothie there, as again King playing this out to its max, as just holding on to that flash as long as possible. Did get Spyrax to overcommit. Spyrax didn't take what was given to him, and instead EG take him down, as that is a nice shutdown going over to the coffers of Evil Geniuses. We'll slow down the 1-3-1 and allow them to fix some of their lanes as they try and take their first turret of the game. Desirux, they've yet to take a structure, and they would love an objective bounty in their favor.
Yeah, there's a lot of standing gold for Evil Geniuses to claim on this map right now. As well as another bounty on Masu if they can find a way to actually lock down onto him. FlyQuest, definitely not a lack of trying to take down King and keep the snowball rolling to make sure that King's not going to be a big presence into this game. But King really holding his own. Some of these exchanges so far, still showing that consistency that we've seen throughout the entirety of the regular season. And now, another setup coming out from FlyQuest as they look to really hold down these side lanes. They got a Jax to do it.
You can see, curious where Ryoma goes from here, as Ryoma has a few moving parts in his build. Did actually pick up that portion of the Void Staff that gives you some Magic Pen now, which frankly, given who he's going up against, I think is needed. But it looks like he's actually now going towards the Seraph. So he has that tier 4 stack once the shield. Cassio's scary as this game moves on for FlyQuest. Kog'Maw should always be able to zone out the Xayah and the Cassio, but Cassio can match these solo laners as time goes on. So I don't think the FlyQuest by any means is on a timer, but I think that right now they are a little bit stronger than what they will be later, at least in the side lane. Whereas this Kog'Maw also scales to infinity pretty much. And with the Rylai's completed, gonna be even easier to land those ults that will be coming from Narnia once he is able to pick up that level 6.
That's gonna be so frustrating. You get tagged by one, you're slowed. Spit comes out, you're slowed. There's just so many ways to slow you to make sure that these ultimates are gonna land. But look at this.
This isn't spotted. This is gonna be at 5k before it's spotted.
Oh, Evil Geniuses, they have a hunch it's going on. Winsome is playing defensively, but they can't get across right now. Spyrax holds the line, hops back over the wall.
They get a TP.
Smoothie walks up.
Pull back.
EG pulls back. Not gonna risk it on the 50-50, Cubby.
Great from FlyQuest, though, because they pull a TP from Evil Geniuses. Now EG, they're forced into a really tough spot. Faisal is split pushing, and look at all the poke coming down from the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, Faisal's going to be able to take that. No one's taking the recall. Instead, Evil Geniuses need to stay on this Baron at the same time that FlyQuest are pressuring them. And already an inhibitor tower is down. Going for the inhibitor. Faisal will claim it. 2k health remains. It is secured in the name of Evil Geniuses. But how much are they going to lose for it, man? King goes down. Here comes Faisal coming out from the flank. Looking for a ward to hop right over that wall. Counter-Strike comes in. Will find the stun. Lands it onto 2. Ryoma sinks the fangs into Faisal. Forces the flash. And FlyQuest will back off. But they spot one little rat by his lonesome, but so was Yuji. A solo kill for Surdy, but the rest of the Wolves of FlyQuest will pounce right onto him and claim it back.
Honestly, EG, yes, they lose an inhibitor, but the Turo Baron buff is secure. The fact that they only drop 2, decent scenario for them. As we see Evil Geniuses get some gold in their coffers and can utilize that Baron to take a lot of standing gold on the map. That said, I love the bait and switch from FlyQuest. Hit the Baron, get the TP out, pull back, and then lean on Masu's poke to try and get EG low, take them down. I feel like FlyQuest executed that rather well, but they should have pushed harder in making sure that EG weren't able to escape after that Baron. EG able to get 3 Barons out will be significant for them, as they're going to try and contest this Dragon, as Soul Point is on the table for both of our teams.
Here's the thing, though. They do have Smoothie on the other side while the Dragon is spawning. It's Smoothie who's catching that side lane.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I don't know how I feel about that right now. FlyQuest can easily just take this. One of your primary engagers are not there to contest. This is Soul Point for FlyQuest.
Good call out there, Desrex. As Smoothie wanted an item. Looks like he might actually be working towards that Mikhail's. I will say that could be significant. Later on, just take away a little bit of the power of the Sejuani and Leona. You get another look, and you can see how low EG are getting just from the poke landing from Masu. Masu did end up running a little bit low on mana, just take down King, but the chase, I feel like if Faisal goes over the wall now, maybe they're able to, get a little bit more, but Spyrax, he ulted air, and then has to go back to the pit. So Spyrax was honestly out of that fight as the one that is the most fed on the side of FlyQuest. I think that's why EG were able to take things down as Surdy. He knew that was a one-way trip towards the top side, given the angle that Winsome was taking. So the fact that he took down UG, honestly not bad for him, as EG, I think, pretty happy getting 3 out of the 5 Baron buffs out of there.
Evil Geniuses aren't exactly in a position where they can push forward and kind of utilize this Baron buff a little bit more. Look at all the towers. All those outer towers are still up and available. And goodness gracious, look at that poke damage from Masu. Almost 3k in the last team fight.
And not bad. As I will say, one big pickup here for EG. You can see King actually has a Bloodthirster. So now, even if he eats some of the poke from Masu, he can sustain it. So this means that if I'm Masu, I'm shifting my target from King more so to the Cassiopeia and Ryoma in these fights, trying to keep her at bay. So that will be a little bit harder for the side of FlyQuest, as King will be the one matching Masu in the mid lane, and Cassio will, of course, be in the side lane. So I think that does set things up a little bit better here for the side of EG. As this game goes on, I think the EG with the Cassio and the Xayah do have some ways to answer what FlyQuest wants to do. And EG might be looking to answer big in the mid lane, as Masu's going to hover the bot side, but EG looking.
Engage on the Masu. Armeo looking
Got
for
him.
it. Uses Magnet Storm, but it's Armeo by himself. Needs the rest of
combo.
EG to get there. Able to get another knock up on Masu, but the damage dealers haven't gotten onto Masu yet. And returning fire with the artillery. Down goes King. No, able to flash away just in time. And FlyQuest, my God, they weather the engage. No one significant got onto Masu, and he will survive to see another day.
King does have that buffed up red buff, as Faisal has the Hull Breaker to be pushing on his own. Armeo hits the Blast Cone, gets out, but now the mid inner turret's under siege. Ryoma has to dodge away from everything and see how difficult it is. The Raiwa is being on the Kog'Maw. Ryoma is catching all
He's got blue buff.
It's all that damage being dropped from the Sky Man. Ryoma catches it all, and that turret falls.
And he's got blue buff, so he's going to keep throwing down those ultimates, raining hell down onto EGC and making it that much harder to either fight this out, to get positioning on any neutral that you're trying to scrap out with. Even these structures that you're looking to defend from the grasp of FlyQuest, all it takes is that living artillery falling down on you for you to second guess yourself. It's 2 minutes before Dragon's Soul, and already FlyQuest in that vicinity.
And man, blue buff just giving that so much ammo. As, hold on, Spyrax just going to go attack the ward here against Armeo. As still, you can see FlyQuest, as long as they can play out these 3 lanes, the Hullbreaker Jax on the top side, and this Yone, who's very far ahead of the curve on the bot side, going to be good. And Masu now, the control you get out of this mid lane Kog'Maw, very strong. Love seeing the strat run by FlyQuest. This has been a fun one to open up our day, Deserux, as FlyQuest just trying to put the finishing touches on what I think has been a really, really strong game from them.
FlyQuest set up in the mid lane. At the same time, Faisal shoves in that top wave, and there it is, raining down on a Ryoma. Ooh, you gotta watch your step when Masu's in the area. Again, that is a max ultimate, already leveled up, which means you got max range on it as well. That is pure suffering for EGC right now. Still holding the wave. Everything's gonna be on the map in a second. 30 seconds before Baron, 1 minute before the Dragon.
No blue buff for the side of Masu, but with a minute before a Dragon spawns, you can see the blue buff for EG will be spawning before that. And honestly, that could be something you have to contest as EG, because if Masu is able to get that, that is unlimited ammo for the living artillery, and we have seen how much damage that can do.
Spawning up quite soon. You can tell Armeo was headed into that direction, but did see Yuji didn't want to actually jump onto Masu. So control of that quadrant of the map will still belong to FlyQuest, or the immediate moment with the control wards that they have there. You gotta agree, grabbing that blue buff would be huge to keep this poke firing. And firing it is! King! One more would take him down! He doesn't even need it! There it is! Masu will find the kill onto King. And this is devastating to have to deal with. Masu says, if you haven't heard of me, now you have.
Man, the Ludens was like a shard from the living artillery, man. He just caught a chip, but that's all he needed to bring down King, as Masu continues to connect with the poke. FlyQuest, yeah, they have Ocean Soul on the table. They don't even want it yet, as now we're going to see an engage force.
Oh, Masu's trying to back up, but Surdy's able to get on him. Evil Geniuses are finding the engage they need. Masu locked down, shut down, picked up by Ryoma. Counter-strike goes in. Faisal's able to get the stun onto 2. Smoothie will find a knock-up over the wall. It's Armeo trying to hold down Faisal, but another trade comes in as Surdy does fall. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of FlyQuest.
Ryoma doesn't feel like he can push into the Fog of War, as FlyQuest will retreat to that Dragon, which will be sold for them. And EG, they know they can't contest it. They might even look at Baron. This is possible with the Cassio.
They're walking over and posturing towards that area, but Winsome is going to be the one to try and run some interference alongside Spyrax in the process. So Armeo pushes the issue, goes for the engage straight onto them. Ryoma can get the damage through, but so can Spyrax as he finds Smoothie, takes him down, and retreats after getting his gold. Winsome hops in, Zenith Blade gets a stun through, Shield of Daybreak. Here comes King. Spyrax, ooh, we're looking for King right now, but King's able to find one onto Spyrax, and that's 2 kills found by King. A double, and Baron's on the table.
You can see the damage that the Casio can pump out if Kogball is not there to keep Casio at bay, as it was a great TP from Faisal, but FlyQuest, they went in too early, and now even with Ocean Skull on their shoulders, EG, they're TPing in. This Baron's going to be theirs. UG cannot steal it.
Oh my goodness. Evil Geniuses, they're looking for the comeback. The gold lead now starting to shrink. 4.2k Turtle Baron buff now in the hands of Evil Geniuses Challengers. And don't forget, there is a lot of standing gold that they're looking to claim, but FlyQuest are looking to claim lives. They're looking to claim King. Counter-strike goes through. A flash from Faisal stuns 3 of them, and a shutdown found by Masu as Armeo tries to survive, but Faisal is on the hunt. Changes directions over to Surdy, slicing Maelstrom only stuns them up, but it delays the inevitable death that FlyQuest are raining down. The Ping God Apocalypse, Hellfire and Brimstone from Masu. A double kill at FlyQuest, looking for the end.
They turned Ryoma to stone as Faisal flashed over the petrifying gaze, and Masu was not able to be dealt with as he even TP'd and flashed in to make sure this one went in FlyQuest's favor. Good fight from EG here, Deserex. Is honestly a couple creative solutions to at least try and pressure FlyQuest, but it's 1-3-1 with the Kog'Maw being the staple mid. Executed too damn well from FlyQuest as they take game 1.
FlyQuest Challengers. What a performance, especially in the earlier stages, coming out from UG, who knew what the game plan was, attack that bottom lane, get a small lead going over to Masu before you lay your claim on the rest of the Rift, win some playing to that as well. It was great execution from FlyQuest, Cubby.
I am really impressed with the flexibility of FlyQuest. We saw them execute some 1-3-1 comps in the regular season, but it was mostly just play around Masu and let him do work in teamfights to make a space for him. Seeing that adaptation, going into EG, a team that you know is going to side lane, and to have the confidence in your team to be like, we are going to beat EG at their own game. This is how we're going to draft to beat them. Take the Sejuani, take the Jax and the One, slam that power down to the top side, and then beat EG with it. That's something that not a lot of teams have been able to do in Challengers, and FlyQuest did it to them in that game 1 as they continue to stay hot. And I'm really curious to see what changes as we go into game 2.
One of the most respected teams in the second round robin that everyone is hyped up, and FlyQuest are able to adapt, and they overcome in game 1. We're going to throw it over a short break. When we return, we'll have the Rally Cry halftime show hosted by Magical on the other side.